Because here's what I want people to realize, and here's why he's getting critiqued the way he's getting critiqued. He's sitting there in front of a congressional roundtable, which is almost like a congressional hearing, which is basically a testimony. And they brought him as well as other experts. Now, let's look at who this is. Nick Saban and the rumors of Alabama players. It used to be when you go to Alabama, you got a Charger. If you were good, they upgraded that bitch and you got you a Hellcat. Alabama players been making money since the beginning of time. Not just Alabama, other players. We've called it the bagman. People have always talked about the bagman for years. And some of the things that Nick has said in this hearing is borderline comical because it's who it's coming from. You are not a guy. You don't get to say this because you were a part of it. You're also a guy who made $10 million. The school paid for your house, 2 houses, paid it off. You're a guy who continues to benefit off the backs of these young men, and I'm not even hating on you for that. What I'm saying is you don't get to say that the game is out of control when you're part of the reason why the game is out of control. But let's listen to Raphael and all these other cynical motherfuckers talk about why it's not okay to pay little black boys.
It actually passed legislation to address the challenges here. Why don't I start off with just posing a general question? Everyone around this table are experts in different aspects of college athletics. What do you see right now as the biggest challenges with the current Wild West? Many have said that the status quo threatens the long-term or even medium and short-term viability of college athletics. Is that true? If so, why? What are the challenges that you're facing right now? And I'll open that up to anyone who feels inspired.
I'd like to ask, you have two people, I think, on the front line, Mr. Byrne and my dear friend Nick Saban. But what has done, we call it student athletes. What has it done to the student part of the athlete? What's the chances of them graduating? What's the chance of them transferring their credits?
Can we push pause real quick?
Jump. What's the purpose of?
So again, as a guy who's done this before, I thought about leaving my junior year. I had my daughter. I got her mother pregnant again. Going in that spring, going into that, my mindset was crazy, right? It's crazy. I was in that bitch grinding like a motherfucker. I was gonna get out. And I talked to my mom. My mama had made one of the greatest points. She said, what is the whole purpose of you going to college, son? The purpose of going to college is so that you can have a career where you can make money. And she said, you can always go back to college, but you can't always be a millionaire. So when they talk about what's the purpose of like a student athlete, the purpose of becoming a college student is to make money, is to better your situation. So like, aren't they kind of doing that by, again, and it's a farce. It's not a student. Let me not show up to a practice because, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, I quote, hey, I have a study hall that I have to go to for this test that's important. I don't want to fail this test. Did we bring you here for school or did we bring you here for football? That is what they tell you. So like the whole student, this is, you gotta stop. It's this it's the Make America Great Again mantra. It's cool when you think about the good parts in the rose-colored glasses, but it was bad for some people. The student athlete part is bullshit. If you took away the student part, you would still have athletes. Like, trust and believe. If you said, hey, come play football for the University of Alabama, and we're just going to give you this money, they're going to come play for Nick Saban. They don't give a fuck about that degree. That degree ain't worth the paper that it's printed on, unless it comes with a job that's guaranteed, which basically is what you're doing de facto with NIL. But again, what is the purpose of going to college? To make money. I pay, if I'm a regular student, I pay you to take classes to learn about stuff so that in turn one day I get paid money based upon what I learned. So if I learned that if I run very, very fast and through a motherfucker's face mask, I get paid. Period. That's it. Man, my bad. Let's listen to more of this bullshit.
Of collectives that basically are out there and not in contact with it, not coordinating with the schools, all the things that we think. I truly believe it's going to destroy the student athlete as we have known it. But on the other hand, I think there could be a balance. So I'd love to hear from Coach and from Mr. Byrne, basically on the front lines. You've gone through it.
So real quick too about the collectives, and I kind of agree. All this could have been easily made if the NCAA would just figure out a way to make them employees. But everybody, oh, you don't want to be an employee. You don't want to pay this. You don't want to pay tax. Bitch, taxes is a part of being an American. You got to learn how, an adult. But the other part of this is what he's suggesting, and they're I want you to hear the truth behind this. What they're suggesting is that lawmakers intervene in what our country's foundational principles and what it was built upon in capitalism, not just restricting the student athlete from getting paid, but restricting me, the collective, or a business owner with who I can do business with. You mean to tell me that I, James Coleman, can go make millions of dollars, and you're going to tell me who I can and can't spend my money with? Because what it is, what name, image, and likeness is getting paid off of your name, image, and likeness. The market dictates that. If I choose that James Anthony Coleman III is worth $1 million to my company, who the fuck are you to tell me I don't get to spend my money the way that I want to when I earned it? The problem is it's something that's conducive across the board. The only people who are really afraid of the future are the people that the world was built for. And it's as you've known it. And that's really older white guys. Like, it's fearful because you're going to see a generation of people that consistently didn't have any money, maybe have more money than what you have. And that's the only time Americans are cool with giving up their inalienable rights. Is as long as it can keep somebody else down, I will give up. We see it in Georgia, illegal search and seizure. Nobody wants to be pulled over for any reason. Now, it's okay as long as it gets the illegals. Yeah, that's like, I personally look at this as, I don't want you telling me, like, I'm all for less government. But it's wild that the people who say, as a Republicans say less government, less government, less government, until it affects something that can undermine or move them down a peg. That's not me. I don't want that shit. I love this shit. Let's go ahead and play, because again, that's an old white man full of shit.
Why do you think these old white men are so worried when they're gonna die before most of this change really has effect?
Because it affects the money. All these arguments were had when NFL was going to free agency. Like, these are the exact same tired ass arguments, and the NFL has never been more popular. In fact, college football with NIL, transfer portal, has never been more popular. That's why they keep writing these big ass checks. It's for the new money. They want the new money. Yeah. If you can put it like that, if I can keep everybody under the status quo, if I can keep it to where, let's just say $50,000 scholarship times 85, because that's basically it. I'll put 50 times 80, 50, 1, 2, 3 times 85, 4.25 million. All right, so let's just say that's what Florida State. Let's say Florida State joins the Big Ten, and they're able to get $100 million, right? Per year. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That means I get 90. That's a 95. Let's say we pay our coaches $20 million. You mean to tell me I can get a $75 million net profit? That's the real reason behind all of this stuff. Like, and then you can it's yeah. Anyways, but keep going. Let's keep playing. Keep playing this shit. Let's go. Nobody cares about your pockets more than an old white man. Oh, your pants. Not just your pockets. Your pants. What your dick's doing and what's going on in your pocketbook. Them the only people who care about that shit.
People be more successful in life. So you're trying to develop value-based system, just like a value-based business that would create opportunities for young people to be more successful. So this started with personal development. It started with academic support to make sure guys graduated and prepared themselves for when they couldn't play football. And also the whole concept of branding and making sure you had an image out there that was going to be something that would be enhance your chances of being successful and create opportunities for your future, and see if you can develop a career as a football player. Now, what we've done between freedom to transfer and creating a free agency system where guys can transfer whenever they want to transfer,
which is a different problem.
The whole idea that we've created a pay-for-play sort of model in college athletics have created some issues in being able to actually have a program and a system that would enhance those very values that I just talked about. And how does this even impact?
So the values that he says is about creating a situation where you can have a bigger brand, where you can have success off the field. Again, this comes from Nick Saban is a phenomenal coach. But it can show you how you can be really, really great at something with a certain group of people and have a complete disconnect. Like, I know right now there are a couple kids that are going to get paid between $150,000 to $250,000 upon entering college. My mother made $25,000 a year, I believe, my senior year in high school, raising 2 kids. If I could have got $150,000, you know what that is in my family? A fucking success. That's what we call success. Now, can you as a mentor want more from me? Yes. But what you can't do is spend my money and hinder it. And again, it's doing what it is. So what you should be doing is showing me, you know what? A big game or little game or whatever at the time he would have been calling me. You got that little 150. I'm making 10 million. Follow me so I can show you how to make this big bread. That's what it comes down to. But the problem is and then now when we talk about the transfer portal was not created due to NIL. Again, I always tell you guys, the first time I ever heard about the transfer portal was by coaches saying, we're going to use the transfer portal we're going to use the transfer portal to either control kids or to get them out of our program. And when they waived the APR, that's when you truly made it the Wild Wild West, because coaches were using that way crazier. And it's an easy way to change all of this. And we'll talk about all that. My guy, Fatal Jedi, brought up a good point. It's a really easy way to change this shit, but it will require them not being greedy. And they can have more control, but whatever. But trust me, these collectives ain't doing shit that the coaches don't want them to do.
To Title IX, relative to non-revenue sports, and how do we continue to create some kind of a model moving forward where we do improve the quality of life of the student athlete, but create some kind of a balance in terms of competitive balance, which all venues have some guidelines and rules that create some kind of competitive balance, which right now we don't have in college athletics. It's whoever wants to pay the most money, raise the most money, buy the most players is going to have the best opportunity to win. I don't think that's the spirit of college athletics. I don't think it's ever been the spirit of what we want college athletics to be. So That's my major concern, the combination of pay for play, free agency, and how that impacts development. And I can attest that I've had 2 NFL coaches tell me, and this is a football deal because they're concerned about the football part, that the players come to them less developed, with more entitlements and less resiliency to overcome adversity.
All right, push pause.
And these are concerns that they have.
So we'll just talk about that. Now, that's true. I've heard a coach say that. They are less developed. They do have more entitlements. They do have less resolve. But you know what that is? That's indicative of our culture in general. That's not indicative of NIL. That's literally the argument that all old people make about every generation behind them. Like, literally, go back, listen. This generation don't know how tough we had it. Like, yeah, it was harder, Grandpa. You had to go, like, there was 2 toilets. There was a whites only and there was a coloreds only toilet. And the coloreds only toilet didn't work half the time. I didn't have to deal with it, but that doesn't mean the world ain't hard. Like, yeah, everybody didn't have running water and electricity like 30, 40 years ago. There's a different set of problems. But what happens is a lot of these things have already been there. Like Nick Saban made a funny, like not a funny joke, but he's tweeted something. We know when we see a kid go to 3 to 4 different high schools before they come, we don't recruit them. And that motherfucker had 2 guys committed in that class that had been to 3 different high schools. Like, you got guys right now that you're heavily recruiting and entitling out of high school because they're good athletes. You're not punishing them now when you don't have, well, about to have to pay them soon, but when you don't have to pay them, you're giving them the best benefit to come to your university. And they're on their 3rd high school. They're on their 3rd 7-on-7. Like, you want to know how to nip that shit in the bud? Stop paying attention to this 7-on-7 shit. I hate it even more now. I got kids listening to people who ain't never graced an NFL practice. I got kids that are all of a sudden listening to people whose only reason that they have a relationship is that there's a fiscal benefit for them. Not listening to the guys who ain't getting nothing from them and don't want to get nothing from them, but for them to be in the best situation and get paid the most money. That's the entitlements. It's who you've been in bed with. You made this happen, Nicholas. Which is wild because you made this happen. You set the tone for this. And now you got the nerve to sit and say, man, this is why I got out. This is what's wrong with it. Look, go ahead, push play. Hopefully he'll bring some solutions. I don't like just judging people. I want to, like, hopefully there's some solutions in this shit.
Their football development. Well, if that's true in their football development, is that true in other parts of their development, whether it's academics or personal development? And each time you transfer, you minimize your chances of graduating by probably about 20%. Now we have guys transferring 2 or 3 times. So some of the goals and objectives of what we've worked so hard for the last 20 years to improve graduation rate, to improve health care for players, to have mental health care for players, all the things that we work so hard to improve on, we're going to start seeing slide in the wrong direction because we've created an environment that really does not promote personal development or that is going to create success for their future.
You know, one question I have to ask. You just retired from a amazingly and historically significant coaching career. How much
when we
did
see another
current
paradigm,
chaos and state of the law
on that
contribute to
I
your
want us
decision
to
to
just
retire now?
look at what a lack of, actually you could go back a little
Well,
bit. It just had a pan
all
out. I want you guys to see why, what the conversation right here. Yeah. All right. Is that one lady? That's a black lady right there. That's a black lady wig, ain't it? Right there. Where the arrow is. That's a black lady, right?
I believe so.
I want y'all to look at that room.
Yo.
I want you to and this is no knock. Like, I'm not saying that these people don't have concerns or don't care about what these young men are doing. But like, look at that room. This is why DEI is important. This is why diversity, equity, inclusion is important. I got a room full of people talking about a sport that is 75% African American. Because let's be for real. As a kid said, we're going to be anything. Let's be for real. We are not fucking talking about baseball. They don't give a shit about baseball. Kids have been going to the league out of high school and baseball for decades. They only cared about it when it became football was the person. And that's the breadwinner. And football is what basically fronts and funds every other sport at a college for the most part. And basketball. And I'm not that Saban needs to be in there, deserves to be in there.
Is he the only football guy there?
Yeah, there's a guy, Darren Heitner, that was in there as well. Darren is the one who got in all the damn trouble with Florida, but he was on the he's an incredibly intelligent guy. But like, there's not.
You could say it.
I mean, not one black guy. Like, not one. We could have got, like, even if it didn't make sense, we got Neil deGrasse Tyson can make sense of anything. We couldn't even get Neil deGrasse Tyson in there. I'm to believe that nobody's talking for the guys who know what the red card means with your electric bill. Nobody knows what it's like. Like the guys who literally went to college, they signed on, because what people don't realize is the first Wednesday of February is traditionally National Signing Day. There's not one guy in that room that knows what it's like to have a 15-day pay or vacate. That saw their mom crying because she had to choose between paying your Spirit Pack for football and maybe getting some groceries. Medical bills. Like I won't say the player's name, but I know the mom. Mom's an amazing woman. Like, while her son was in college during the name, image, and likeness era, and her son was a prominent player, she worked 3 jobs just so she can go see her baby on a Saturday. You don't have no voices in that room for like that. You don't have any of the voices, but this is what I want you to hear. And this is why it's bothersome or worrisome, because a guy who is so connected, this is what he said. And I'm not telling him to not. Bobby Bowden's my guy. And I heard Bobby say some things that I tremendously did not agree with toward the end of his life with some of his thoughts. It doesn't make me not, I can never change the fact that he changed my life as a young black dude. But what I want to say is that this is very, very disingenuous. But I want us to listen to Senator Cruz ask Saban a very pointed question. And I want to hear what his response is about this.
Amazingly and historically significant coaching career. How much did the current chaos and state of the law contribute to your decision to retire now?
Well, all the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me,
hold up, wait a minute.
Recruits over on Sunday.
Wait a minute. Because the help can get paid, you can no longer develop them, and you don't know how to make them successful in life?
All the things he believed
All
in
the
are
things
gone.
you believed in, are you listening to yourself? Like, real talk, like that. Like, you literally fixed your lips to say that. And look at Raphael's face. Raphael, like, yep. Mm-hmm. That's what I be talking about all the time. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. The children are making more money than us. Go ahead, push play.
Sunday with their parents for breakfast. And she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people, which is why I always did what I did. My dad did it. I did it. And that's the reason that I always like college athletics more than the NFL, is because you had the opportunity to develop young people. So, and I want their quality of life to be good. I think, as I said before, name, image, and likeness is a great opportunity for them to create a brand for themselves. I'm not against that at all. But to come up with some kind of a system
that you can have
still
more
can help the
control.
development of young people.
That's basically what it comes down to. I had to get out of it. My wife sold these new mothers that are struggling a crock of bullshit that I'm going to, which is not actually, let me rephrase that. I don't believe she sold them a crock of bullshit. I believe she meant what she meant in the way that she meant it. But let's be for real. Like, you still develop players. You're still molding young men. Like, you never stop doing that. And here's why I call it bullshit. I, as a guy who gets paid to do what I do decently, but I coach. I coach on every level. I coach on the high school level, where I'll tell you what, my Duval County stipend, and they're about to pay players. And they got stuff that they're trying to make coaches get paid more money. I get paid $1,400. It comes the week before Thanksgiving. It's actually the only thing I do with it, because I'm blessed. The only thing I do is I buy Christmas gifts with it. I've done that traditionally for years. Now, my lacrosse stipend's a lot better, but that's at a different school, and I won't get into that. But it's $1,400. When I go coach my son's I-9 flag team, it's free. I probably coach my son's 12U Pop Warner team this year. Free. Get cussed out just as equally by the parents. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're not doing all these different things. The problem is that the kids, and I know right now, I'm coaching a bunch of kids that will make what I make next year at 18 years old. Some will make more. I have never stopped to think, and I have never gotten paid close to what Nick Saban gets paid. You can total all the years of everybody in my family probably earning money, and we won't combine to what Nick made in his last year. And I've never stopped wanting to coach. Now, what happened is you don't know how to control them. You don't have a carrot to dangle in front of them anymore. And you're too old to try to figure out how to do something different. And that's okay. But to try to use it as the NIL, it's just not factual. It comes down to this. NIL is literally controlled right now by collectives that raise money. And it's always, and you know what marketing is? Marketing is pay for play. The better you play, the more marketable you are. That's how it works. Patrick Mahomes makes more money off the field than a lot of people because he fucking wins. I can't come and say it's not fair that Gardner Minshew doesn't make as much in advertising dollars as Patrick Mahomes when they're not the fucking same player. That's just the way the world works. Winners get paid. Winners get sprinkles. Everybody else might get ice cream, but the winners get extra toppings. Now, what happens is that you just can't come in and say, this is Alabama, come here, when there's a kid that might go consider getting paid. Let's just say some of the asinine numbers that people are saying is true. I can come to you, get $400,000 and potentially go to the NFL, or I can go get $1 million from here. And what's wild is you talk about the transfer portal like you haven't taken guys from the transfer portal. You literally took Georgia Tech's best player for a year, brought him to Alabama. He gets drafted by Detroit and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Not to mention what he did by staying long enough with the coaching staff.
Right. And let's get into that. You want to know when the game really got fucked up is when coaches can leave at a blink of an eye. Like a coach can be coaching at LSU, having recently won a national championship, and decide that, you know what, I want to go to the NFL now. And just leave all the kids that he recruited and told them that his wife said, I'm going to see your son be successful. I'm going to see you be great. I'm going to treat this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go to the NFL, get a bigger check. That could be in the NFL, leave the NFL because you don't have the control over them like you had in college, and go to the University of Alabama in the middle of the night after you said in a press conference, I'm not leaving Miami. I'm not leaving the Dolphins. That's what's real. The truth be told is, for years, we have seen these men tell these young men that I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do this for you. Be selfless. Let me do this. I'm going to take care of you, to leave whenever the fuck they want to leave. And now that the playing field is a little bit even, oh, I can't handle it. I got to go to the NFL. You're basically leaving implied free agency to go to fucking real free agency. You just don't have anything to do with it.
Didn't you say like the Washington coach or the coach who was supposed to go to Alabama stayed long enough so the kids were locked down?
That was a couple of them. You left. Matter of fact, let me tell you what you did, Saban. Because I know this to be true. Your wide receiver coach leaves, doesn't call the kids that are committed to him right now. The guys, the young men who committed to play for him. Young man found out the same way that I found out on Twitter. You know how that young man found out that Nick Saban retired? The same way that everybody else found out on social media. But you had your wife tell his mama that I'm going to take care of your son. I want to make sure that he grows. I'm going to see his best interests in mind. Shit ain't adding up. And I'm not knocking you for it. What I'm saying is what you're doing right now is you're going behind and you're talking in that calm demeanor, that controlled voice, but it's not adding up to what you've actually done in real life. And I'm okay with it because it's capitalism. But the problem, what I'm not okay with, is you not being okay with the rabbit having the gun. It goes down to what everybody, like, again, the American way is, I'm okay with your rights being restricted as long as it keeps you below me. And that's just not the way the game is played now. These kids ain't got to deal with that shit no more, man. They got to put up with your bullshit. And what's crazy is it's still brand new. One thing about capitalism, and this is why the school my son is, I'm thinking about putting my son in, both of them, both have civics. And I can tell 90% of Americans never took civics or they've forgotten it. And it should be something that you have to take year in and year out so you can actually know the country that you so-called love. Because you clearly don't understand the principles and the foundations of American capitalism. Because if you did, you would be like, you know what? Fuck it. And if you truly just adopted it, that, you know what? It doesn't really affect me, you'll be fine. Because you know what's going to happen? Rome will always have her gladiators. College football has never been, like I said, college football has never been more interesting than it was this year. Now, and you can go, maybe go click on some other stuff to see what some other people are saying on these the tweets that I sent. I talked about that already. Actually, go click back on that. Click. He said Albert Breer puts, what I think Nick is getting at is kids go to 3 to 4 different schools, not getting developed, blah blah blah. And I'm like, but y'all are cool with them playing on multiple high schools. You're cool with them. You're recruiting them nonetheless. You're cool with them being on, like, not getting degrees or plugged into professional networks for after football is not worth $200,000. Try telling that to somebody who ain't never seen $200,000, because I'll tell you straight up, that's some bullshit. let me put a couple $100,000 a day or a degree. Like that's dinner with Jay. That's you're choosing dinner with Jay-Z. You basically are telling the kids to take the dinner with Jay-Z. And Jay-Z tells you to take the money. Click on this. Nick say this is hilarious with Pete Nakos. I think we all know who Pete Nakos is. That's the dude who fucked up Zion Young's recruitment for Florida State. But former Alabama head coach Nick Saban, you're going to create a caste system where the rich will get richer and the poor get poorer. And eventually the fans will look at it. I really don't want to watch this game. Bro, what the fuck are you watching now?
Yeah,
Nick, you literally dreamed of a facility and they built it. You have indoor practice facilities. You have a football only weight room. You built a 40,000 square foot cafeteria for just football. A training table for only the football people. Like, to put that in perspective, Florida State's is like it's not 10,000 square feet. That bitch is like 4,000 square feet. A piece of the Moore Athletic Center. And you're talking about the haves and the have-nots. You're saying this while you're sitting in a mansion and you're building another one that's 2 times the size. You're like Shad Khan bragging about, oh, well, that's the problem. These people don't have money because they buying Starbucks while he's building another mega yacht. You guys, again, and I got to go back to before we talk about, there was nobody who looked like any of the people that they're trying to make policy for. If you understand America, we literally broke away from the British for no taxation without representation. You're literally making rules for people who ain't there. And what's wild is how would they get there? They have the Student Athletic Advisory Council. Every school has a SAC, and SAC has 2 people from every sport that are represented. Like, if you don't think the Alabama football players are the smartest ones, go get somebody from fucking Harvard. There are 2 people that play football at every university that should at least be in the room. You don't even have them in the room. I'm not even suggesting giving them a microphone. They're just not even in the room. You don't care. It is, and that's what nobody's talking about. Everybody's talking about what was said. Oh, well, Nick didn't mean it this way. Nick didn't mean it that way. It's the fact that we talk about how we don't want politics in sports, but every time we go there and we beg for politics to be in sports, for shit that it don't need to be in. And then 2, the people that we're talking about, we're concerned about, aren't even there to express their concerns. You know what? You ever thought about this? Maybe the athletes don't like NIL as much as we think they do. What are the athletes' concerns about NIL? What do the athletes want from NIL? What do the athletes think that they could possibly better gain from the NIL? You're sitting here talking about shit like, I want to see character development. What if they want that? What if the 3rd string running back at the University of Alabama, who is content with just being at the University of Alabama as you over-recruit him, wants to know, how do I leverage my Alabama career, having never made a play that matters, into the workforce? You're so concerned about, like, the NFL, the top 10% of your roster, because let's be for real, it's the top 10% of the roster that's making the money, that is getting the headlines, that is offending people, not the bottom 90 they're saying this shit without even bringing up what the average fucking NIL deal is. You know, there are people on Florida State's roster right now that don't get $1,000 a month in NIL. It's $12,000 on an annual. Nah, but you're concerned about the guy that you think is making millions, but you're not doing this. 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 You're And the money doesn't affect you. And the money can help these people. And I can only tell you as a guy who comes from this shit. This guy who saw his mom cry when he didn't sign on signing day because she had no fucking idea how I was going to go to college. Worked out. But I tell you what, I'd rather cry in a Porsche than on a fucking bike. I would have much rather got $150,000. Bullshit. Nobody taught me how to use it. Nobody taught me how to leverage my degree at Florida State. I taught myself how to do that. And nobody's still talking about, like you're saying, well, I want to do, but nobody's showing these guys how to do this. I used to tell people, well, what about the taxes? How did them bitch go show them how to fucking pay them taxes? You're so fucking concerned with the problems that are going to come with it. Go be a part of the solution and stop trying to pull it down because it's not going anywhere. Men's basketball actually has a very interesting approach right now. Next year, they're doing a tournament, a preseason tournament, where each team is guaranteed $1 million to be split amongst the players. That's their payout to get the guys to come to play in this. You've got the SEC just negotiated a landmark deal. The Big Ten will, in a few years, will be negotiating an even more landmark deal. You know how you get this shit done? Pay everybody. If you don't want to have the guys be a member of, an employee of the school, make them an employee of the conference. And now you can negotiate directly with the conference. You could do, the NFL does a 51-49. NFL gets 51% of all revenues generated. The players divide 49% of it. That's how you see the salary cap. The salary cap is based upon what the previous year's numbers were, and then they do that and they distribute it amongst other teams. And the teams have to spend there's a salary cap and a salary floor.
And you're going to need a PA for the college players. Do they have one?
They already have these things in place. Like the SAC. Like we literally have every week, somebody has to sign off on the amount of hours that they practice and other different things. And if there's so you already have but you would have a union. So the fuck what? Yeah, that's good. Just like the union's job is to negotiate these things. That's what happens when you have a successful enterprise. You more money comes in, people have to unionize, people have to do different things. But that's how you get it out of it. That's how you get it out of the hands of the players. Go in and tell everybody, hey, you make $100,000 when you come here. You know what's funny? It's always been like that. What's my scholarship? What's my monthly stipend? Oh, well, you get $894 here when I was at Florida State. You get $894, but we cover your meals. But this is how much you got. This is how you pay for your rent, your cell phone, all your other different things. We have the special student opportunity scholarship that'll give you this much. With your Pell, you'll get $3,100 or some shit like that. With your Pell Grant, you can get this, you can get that. Boom, boom, boom. You can go, and then you find out that your friend at Auburn, well, they get paid $1,200 at Auburn. They have a different housing allowance or quality of life allowance or things of that nature. Those are questions that have always been asked. And if they weren't asked, that's by a parent who doesn't give a fuck. You can't consistently look at people who ain't had shit and tell them that they should be happy with shit. While you getting paid what they can only dream to get paid. And that's the audacity. It used to play this game for the right reasons. That's like me, like you used to coach the game for the right reasons.